I don't think Christian Watson is that true wide receiver one that everybody believes he is. I don't
Interesting.
think he runs great routes. He's a speed guy. Diggs routes, he's okay. Corner routes, 50%. Quick outs. I just think that he's a really good football player. I think Romeo Doubs, Grant DeBose, and Jalen Reed will turn out to be just as good, or it will be a collection of watching balls, this guy balls, that guy balls. So I think it's going to be a constant flow that nobody sees coming except Agent 89.
So there was a tweet I'm looking for. I can't find it right now by Josh Norris, Underdog fantasy football expert, and he was saying the top 10 for wide receivers shifts drastically year to year,
Mm-hmm.
and the guys who make that leap most often aren't rookies. They aren't veterans. They're those year two guys. They've got that first year under their belt.
I don't think
Then
it's.
they and again, it's not necessarily what's happening on field. Is it turning into wins and losses? It's just more from a production standpoint. So if you had to bank on one of these two second year guys, you're leaning Romeo.
I'm leaning Romeo. I could be wrong. When I look at Christian Watson and how long it took him, the plays that he made weren't great routes.
Right.
The plays that he made were about his athleticism. And that tells me a lot because that tells me that he's using his athleticism. And I know athleticism will get you in trouble at some point,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not going to say a player's name because if I do, then it's going to tweet and all that stuff. But I'm just telling you, when your athleticism leaves you, here's what I was saying. A lot of times, when you wake up with special athleticism, a lot of times those players, over time shows you, they don't have special work ethic.
Right. Which makes sense.
I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying when I watch his routes, it's more athleticism. Yes, less he's running. Because when I look at routes, I go, okay, you're making lines. You're connecting the dots. I don't see him connecting the dots. I don't see him running routes and like leaving a corner because he gives them a wiggle
Right.
and a corner's like, oh, he just outruns the guy. Outrunning a guy will get you in trouble when you're playing against a Champ Bailey and all of a sudden you got to know how to win because that guy can run with you. And all of a sudden you don't have an answer but turn on the burners. And when you turn on the burners, you look up and he's running step for step with you. That's going to take some time for him to figure it out. And I think if he runs into that, Romeo Doubs will be the beneficiary of it. And Jalen Reed, I believe, is not being mentioned. He's not on the list. That people are going to be very shocked at his ability. Because when I saw Jalen Reed, when I evaluate his play more and more, with the ball in his hands, he reminds me with the ball in his hands of a Zay Flowers.
Mm-hmm. And for Dobbs specifically, if he dropped a ball last year, he knew he wasn't seeing one the rest of the day. That's just how Rodgers is. How freeing is that? And obviously Rodgers is an all-time great quarterback. It's not a shot at him. He's just very particular in his ways. How freeing is that for a second-year receiver knowing, oh, if I make a mistake, that's not the end of the day for me. Like, will you be less likely to make a mistake because you're not thinking about it as much?
Well, here's what it does. It gives him an opportunity to, one, he's getting coached up. Now he actually gets in a game and he gets to find out with the coaching tip, does it actually work?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you mess up, you get coached up, but you never get the opportunity to see if it works. The best way to learn how to be a better route runner or a better player is on the field training. We all have an answer in the air-conditioned room.
Right.
We all know how to safely evacuate through an emergency until that emergency happens and you have to process and breathe and execute. And you do that enough times, you start to get more and more familiar until when you finally have to do it, you have less and less panic and you're able to calm your nerves. He wasn't given that opportunity because that was not acceptable. Good or bad or indifferent doesn't matter. He has that chance now.